Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Film Angle. My name is Kris,
And I'm Alex.
and today we are talking. Well, we're having a little bit of a mixture today. We are going to obviously talk about our headline film. We're going to be revisiting the original 1980s Predator movie in anticipation for Prey, which is coming out this Friday as of recording. So we're really excited about that movie. And also, we want to get something off our chest, though. First of all, we've there's obviously been a lot of news, Alex, surrounding the whole Warner Brothers DC properties at the minute. What is going on there? There's so many movies in their roster at the minute that are due to be released, but they're just having absolute incidents with all of them.
Yeah, it seems very strange. Obviously, we woke up on Wednesday morning and kind of had this onslaught of news that they'd cancelled their Batgirl film. They'd taken original content off their streaming services. There's rumors that HBO Max is on its way out. All this kind of crazy stuff, and who knows? Obviously, we record this a little bit in advance. It could have all changed again by
Yeah.
the time this episode comes out. But as of right now, they've cancelled Batgirl, which was all but finished. Apparently, they had one test screening where the rumor was the test screening wasn't very well, and they decided to can it. But now it's come out that actually the test screening was okay and it was fine. And obviously, there's still work to be done on it, but it's very much in post production. They cancelled the sequel to Scoob 2, the animated
No,
Scooby Doo
I
stuff.
was so excited for Scoob 2.
And apparently that was pretty much finished. Like, literally, like, weeks away from finished. And obviously, the kind of news is that, like, Warner Brothers merged with Discovery. And whoever
Hmm.
is running Discovery has come in and basically doing all this stuff to save money and basically decided that instead of spending like 10 million to kind of advertise Batgirl and Scoob and all this kind of stuff, just not release it and use it as like a tax cut. I'm not really sure how all the
Interesting.
financial stuff works, but they're going to make more money from not releasing it than they are from releasing it. So the idea is now it's just that it will never see the light of day, which is such a shame, really, because
That's absolutely so deceiving for the people involved in the project. I imagine there are so many people passionate about this, and people probably in production team behind the scenes. Maybe it was their first film and they were using this as a stepping block, and now it's just going to be a sort of stain on their careers. It's a real shame and very greedy.
yeah, it feels weird because obviously um, Leslie Grace,
Hmm.
who was playing Batgirl, is basically, this is essentially a big break for her. I think she was in the Heights. But essentially, this was going to be her big leading role. Brendan
Yeah, this is going
Fraser,
to be her platform. Yeah.
yeah, Brendan Fraser was making his comeback essentially as the villain. He was playing Firefly, which is really cool. And it's
I think
such a
that's the
shame.
thing that really stings the most because obviously Fraser is having a sort of revival at the minute in terms of all fans coming out of the woodwork and really remembering their appreciation for him as an actor and really having a lot of sympathy for his trials over the last sort of 20 so years. So it was going to be a real sort of exciting thing to see him play a really big larger than life villain, and I think that's probably the biggest sting of them all.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think that his kind of disappearance in Hollywood was actually because he spoke out about being sexually assaulted. And then he was
Hmm.
blacklisted by Hollywood for that. And this was before Me Too. And it just kind of shows you just how dirty and kind of dishonest and horrible Hollywood is at times. That would be their kind of thought into, oh, he's spoken out about being assaulted. Oh, let's never give him a role ever again. Just kind of
Yeah.
crazy, really. But obviously things are changing. He's making his comeback now. But yeah, you just think even the directors found out, I think, pretty much same time as we all did, and they're over in Australia, or they were at the time for one of their weddings. You think horrible, horrible
That's
timing.
horrible. Yeah.
But and they released a statement saying like, obviously, you make films for them to be seen, and I think because of the laws around, um, you know, not releasing films for this tax reason or whatever, means they can never ever like give it the light of day. And you just think it's such a
Mm.
shame for everybody involved. whether it was good or bad, I'd definitely be intrigued in seeing it. And yeah, no, I guess now it's very much like, God, I hope somebody leaks it from from Warner Brothers because it's the least it deserves, really.
Is it really set in stone now that that's it? It is 100% never going to be released, or is there light at the end of the tunnel for this film?
I don't know all the ins and outs, but that's what it sounds like. I don't think it's a case of anybody else can
Because
pick it up
I mean,
and
it'd be a
stream it or
very
anything like that.
interesting publicity stunt. It'd be a very interesting publicity stunt if they were just to like to this brings the movie traction by this whole event, and now people, when they do finally release it, people are like want to see what the fuss was about, why it was so poorly received in inverted commas initially, and make their way to the theaters so they can see if that's true.
Do you know what? That's a good point because it would be interesting. It's almost like going down that Sonic route of when they had Ugly Sonic in the initial trailer and all the backlash, and obviously they changed it, and then the whole kind of marketing was like, you asked us
Yeah,
to do
and
this, so you should kind of come
exactly. And
support
now
us.
we've
That
got
we've
Sonic 3 on the way as well. Yeah,
exactly.
it's a
Batgirl
huge
could be
property.
like, you asked us to release this. Say it comes back as like, so everybody should go support it, kind of thing. That would be a pretty mad marketing technique, but I guess it
It
probably would
yeah.
work. But it feels kind of sleazy as well at the same time. I just want it to get leaked. Just think like I think that would be a rebellious way for everybody to kind of witness it. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. Do you think it's just a sheer lack of confidence? I think Batgirl as a property. Again, you are my comic book insider. Alex is I've highlighted before, but do you think it's just the sheer sort of alternativeness of how Batgirl is? Like it's not really as core canon, or really as well known to general audiences as other DC characters that we've seen recently, and
I mean,
that's probably why they're not as confident.
I don't think so. I mean, you maybe could say that, but when you have films like Guardians of the Galaxy coming out with a roster of unknown characters to making hundreds of
I
millions,
suppose Aquaman to a degree as well. Yeah.
yeah, maybe. I mean, and it's Batgirl. Like we all know, Batman. It's not a stone. It's barely a stone throw away from that. And obviously, Michael Keaton was going to reprise his role as Batman in it. Yeah, you had Commissioner Gordon, played by what's his name,
J.K. Simmons. Yeah.
J.K. Simmons, coming back. Um, and at the end of the day, like the budget for it, because it was going to be originally going to be a HBO Max original film only on the streaming service, was £90 million, which is nothing for a superhero film these days. So it's not
Yeah, I
like it
thought
was
that
a
was pretty on the low end.
mega expensive film. I think there was a decision made halfway through filming it where they said, you know what, we should probably release this theatrically as well. And now obviously the
Mm.
choice is like they're not releasing it at all. Again, we might be talking about some very outdated stuff right now. But yeah, right now it seems just kind of weird, and it just makes you go, damn, I really need to make sure I buy physical media because, this is the streaming bubble collapsing. And when you burst the bubble and original content starts disappearing from streaming services, like where'd you go to find it after that? It's almost like torrenting and pirating films is going to become more like archiving them than it is seen as a kind of terrible thing to do for the industry from now on.
Yeah, it is a real shame, and I think surrounding this whole thing with obviously the whole Ezra Miller controversies at the minute, and where they don't really know when to release things. I think they're probably just really putting the pause button on on the whole franchise as a whole at the minute. So it is a little bit confusing, but yeah, they've got a lot of meetings to to talk about these sort of things. They've got a lot to scratch their heads on.
Yeah, I guess the difference with the Flash is even though its problematic star is creating a lot of problems for them in how they kind of face
Yeah.
that, it's almost never going to be cancelled because I've heard like it's gone over budget and they've spent like £300 million on
Oh,
the
I'm like,
Flash.
yeah, it's
So it's
crazy.
not as easy to write off as the Batman, which sucks because obviously, sorry, not the Batman, Batgirl, which sucks because obviously Batgirl is a cast of unproblematic people as far as we're aware, and
Yeah, people we want to
you
see
know,
do well. Yeah.
and had is a diverse cast at the end of the day, and just sounded like an interesting film. just seems weird that we're in this kind of day and age where you just full on cancel films that are pretty
We
much
can
finished.
throw away money like that. Yeah.
Yeah, seems weird. Kind of this is the kind of theme park cinema that Scorsese was kind of warning us about, essentially.
Anyway, on to the meat and potatoes of the episode. We revisited Predator, 1987's Predator, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, in anticipation for the new film Prey, which is a sort of prequel, but really its own thing, and focuses on a Comanche tribe trying to survive an unwanted visitor from space, i.e., the Predator. So we thought it was a really good time to revisit the original movie. It's been years since I've seen it. Have you seen it before, Alex, or was this your first time?
This was actually my first time. I've only seen Predators, which was the 2010 kind of
Hmm.
reboot sequel thing that went on.
Yeah, it's his own thing.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I hadn't actually seen Predator. This was my first time. But again, like you said, Prey's coming out. Well, it will be out by the time this goes live, and we're looking to do an episode next week. And big fan of 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is Dan Trachtenberg's previous film. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, do you know what? I want to get back. I want to get into a Predator mood, and I should see the original before I see Prey. So yeah, this is where we are.
It's a weird franchise, isn't it? It's like it's had so many iterations of the Predator character, but none of them are like sequels to the other, or sort of mention the other ones, or they're all their own thing. And it's funny how like they're not necessarily reboots, but they don't sit in the sequel territory either. So they're like their own little. It's a funny franchise in that way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've seen them all. Still haven't seen Predator 2, and I haven't seen The Predator. Though I did go
You've seen
back and
Alien
watch.
versus Predator.
I've not seen Alien versus Predator or Alien versus
You
Predator
haven't seen
Requiem.
Alien versus Predator.
So yeah, as of now, I've only seen Predator and Predators, and I actually went back and watched Predators to make sure that I liked it still, because it'd been like, well, it's
Hmm.
probably been like 12 years since I've seen it, and
Yeah.
I did still like it still. However, they do mention Predator 1, and obviously I wouldn't have caught this first time around because I hadn't seen Predator, but they do mention about like, oh, there was a tribe, not a tribe, there was a there was
There's
a
a platoon. Yes.
yeah, platoon, and only one guy survived, and he described the creature exactly like that kind of thing. So
And
there's
his
your,
name was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
but yeah, I do you know what? I'm just gonna chuck it out there now, just before we discuss. Watched The Predator for the first time, and unfortunately, I didn't like dig it as much as I would have liked to. It didn't really do anything for me. And going back and watching Predators, this might be blasphemy. I don't know how big fans people are of Predator, but I thought
Yeah.
Predators was a better film and a lot more enjoyable and fun and kind of interesting. Better characters, even though they're still very two dimensional.
It depends what you are looking for in your Predator movie. Did you have like a sort of expectation going into the original movie, like what you thought it was? Because I mean, there's a lot of iconography in that original film. I mean, we've seen The Simpsons make fun of it, the whole Predator Vision thing, and there's a lot of callbacks that you've probably got through osmosis in popular culture. So, yeah, what was your expectation going into it?
I guess I guess I was expecting a pretty decent 80s action sci-fi ish
A bit more
thing.
in the vein of like a James Cameron Alien sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess it's not far off that. And obviously having Arnie in there kind of gives it a vibe anyway. Though I
Yeah,
did
it's not
think
sophisticated.
it's a more I was it's a more one-liner kind of when you see Arnold Schwarzenegger there. But I did feel like his performance was quite subdued for him in this one. It wasn't as crazy as, say, like Commando, and it's not as
Oh
crazy as
yeah,
like it's not as
yeah.
large as he goes in Total Recall at times as well. I thought it was quite subdued. I did like the opening. where him and Carl Weathers have that kind of handshake, arm wrestle, big
Yeah.
sweaty biceps, just all
Close
clasped
up on the
in there.
biceps.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's funny because I guess this is a very weird modern way of looking at things, but that's like a very popular meme now. And I was like, oh, that's the meme. I didn't know it was from Predator.
Yeah, no, I what I really like about that movie is really actually, like you mentioned, the movie setup is really good, especially when they are traveling to. Obviously, the plot revolves around a squadron of troops going back to. Is it South America? It's set in.
Something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, to a
It's
jungle in
very
South
much.
America, to an old like occupied site by by some sort of enemy that they don't really tell us who the enemy was, but they go back to retrieve a downed chopper in what was previously seemed to be a neutral zone. So they're wondering who hit the chopper down and if there's any survivors. So they send a squadron out. But in that opening scene, when the choppers are traveling to the site of the wreckage, and we get a sort of internal look into the choppers, and we it's all doused in red lighting, and we get this sort of small interactions between the platoon, and we kind of understand the simplistic nature of their characters. Some are a bit more simplistic than others, but the movie's really good at setting up the dynamics pretty early on before it gets into the heavy stuff in the third act. So I do really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I definitely thought the opening was fine. The ending for me is really where
It was fine.
it's fine. The ending I thought was excellent. Like the last 30 minutes, 25 minutes or so, absolutely brilliant. It was everything in the middle, and I guess maybe this is the 80s sensibility of like, oh, we haven't got the effects or the budget or anything to do this. But it was a lot of just like very buff men shooting at nothing in the jungle.
Yeah.
And for me, I got very excited. There's a lot of gunplay in this film, and a lot of shooting, and a lot of shooting at
There is
nothing.
a lot of shooting. Good
And I,
shooting though. I think it's very satisfying. There's like connectivity. You can feel like when bullets hit things, and the sound effects are really good. The pyrotechnics are really off. Like the budget for pyrotechnics and explosions in this movie must have been like millions of dollars by itself. But I enjoy that stuff.
yeah, I just found I don't know. I get very bored by gun battles quite quickly,
Yeah.
and rarely attack because I just find it when your characters are. I mean, obviously here a lot of people die, but essentially your
A
main
lot of
character.
people die. How many people are in that camp? Lauren watched it with me, and like, must have got to the body count of about 100 men. And she was like, "How many people are in this camp?" And I was like, "That's a good point."
It's true, and your main character's almost bulletproof. That was the thing for me. It's like I feel like John Wick does gun battles well because it's more like gun fu, isn't it? It's like kung fu
Hmm.
and guns all together. But yeah, I just found just
Yeah.
like big meaty shooty. Get to the chopper! And I was like, oh, this is what we're doing for 45 minutes.
Oh man, yeah, I get it. I do get it. I think it does. No matter how you feel about the middle or the beginning of the film, I think the third act will definitely, no matter if you've been on board with the film or not, will definitely capture your attention. The third act, when it becomes just about Arnie and the Predator, Dutch and the Predator alone together, having his face off, battle of intelligence and brawn mixed together. I think that's really, really actually. It shows how well directed the movie can be whenever it's firing on all cylinders. I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, and the effects are great there. And obviously, and maybe this is an element as well. Is obviously that is the first time you really see the Predator not
Yeah,
invisible, and you see him, in his full glory. And obviously, there's been so much like the Predator is a cultural icon at this point. Even me with my limited Predator knowledge, even before I saw Predators like 10 years ago, it was very much like
yeah.
I know what the Predator looks like. So imagine you're in the cinema and you don't know what the Predator looks like, and then you watch the film. I can imagine that maybe kind of excites you
The
more than
suspense would have worked a lot better. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Whereas for me, it was just like these invisible effects are a bit janky, but it's the 80s. Oh,
They have dated 100%. Yeah,
But yeah, the
especially
obviously
there's
stuff looks cool. Like that's quite, it's an interesting way because it's like it's almost just like a it's this brilliant kind of like it's like a superhuman but alien with all this kind of weird
yeah.
technology, and it's better than you in nearly every way. It's quite interesting then to kind of face somebody up against that and get them to battle it.
Well, also, the experience is not tainted, but it's sort of reduced the feeling of suspense or fear. And whenever I watch this movie after watching, Aliens versus Predators years ago, we get a lot of lore behind the Predator and how the Predator was actually, as they're a tribe of aliens that go around to different planets to face off other species in a sort of rite of passage thing, and they fought the xenomorphs as a sort of rite of passage. But so that sort of feeling that I know what the Predator is all about kind of takes away a little bit of the suspense. It's kind of like the same thing with Alien now. Like the original Alien, the power of that movie was the power of suggestion. It was the feeling that like 40 minutes into the movie, I didn't even know what I was supposed to be scared of yet, and then it was all smoke and mirrors and shadows, and I didn't really know what this thing wanted or where it came from, and that's what's scary is like it not knowing its origin or not knowing something's intent, something not being malevolent, something just doing something in its nature is much more scarier than something that is premeditated, I feel.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's maybe like obviously there's no lore in this film, but Alien really works for
Yes.
me because but it's less shooty, and I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd need to watch it again, but I
It's a
don't like.
classier movie. It's a different type of movie.
But I don't like the sequel to Alien. I'm not a massive fan of Aliens because it's too shooty.
Ooh. Alex, there you
Yeah,
go. You've done it. We had five
yeah.
listeners and now we've got three.
Yeah, so I mean, I need to watch it again, but yeah, no, I when I first watched Alien, I watched Aliens very soon after, and I was very much like, okay, Alien is good. I like the horror film set in space. Aliens, I was just like, this is so shooty. Not a big fan.
Yeah, it's sort of like Alien is the perfect sci-fi horror movie, and then Aliens is the perfect sci-fi action movie. I'm a big advocate for both of those movies for different reasons. It's strange, Alex. Actually, our relationship to 1980s action schlock movies is. I remember recently you mentioned Commando in a sort of retroactive, humorous way, but I actually I love Commando. Remember, I watched it with you and did you enjoy that? I can't remember
I
if you loved
did,
it or not.
I did enjoy it. Yeah, I did.
It's like, yeah, and you really like MacGruber, which is sort of like a sort of nod and a playful spoof to those sort of 80s schlocky movies. So, but yeah, I don't know where you stand on them though, because you like the humor and you like the puns, but is it just the action that sort of like makes you struggle to connect? I get it when badly directed bullet time action is on screen. It's kind of hard to
But
sort of not glaze over at times.
I would argue that Predator isn't that schlocky. Like I think
No,
it's not as one linery. Like it's got a few obviously, but
it's
it definitely
campy.
feels
It's
like
camp.
it's trying harder to be more kind of serious and more of an action thriller. With a
Mm.
superior alien threat against a superior human like Arnie.
Yeah,
And like
it
I
sort of
said,
sits in that
even his
realm.
performance quite it's not as big. He's supposed to be like a smart marine at the end of the day, isn't he? Or something.
Yeah, and I think it's like 1980s thing where it's like Top Gun, like GI, a GI Joe or an A Team thing, where it's a glorification of the U.S. military, and it's almost like a recruitment video in a way for like this is how badass you can be, this is what interactions you can have if you were to join. You'll meet a guy with a cowboy hat and you'll have some other guy who's going to be a nerdy guy with specs. He's going to be they both got your back, and you're going to be seeing some interesting stuff no matter what. You might even encounter an alien. So I think that's a product of the 80s, and I see it for that. I enjoy it for those reasons, if that's sort of a weird thing to say. But yeah, it's definitely a nostalgia flick for sure. I agree, like the early special effects with the Predator just almost don't work. They almost don't work at all because they are so early in terms of I don't know, is it early CG? I mean, we're 87, it's 1987 and we're starting to use a little bit of that with ILM and early Pixar coming into, around the corner. Yeah, I couldn't tell.
I don't think so. I think it's very early. Surely. When did Jurassic Park come out? That was early 90s, right?
93 was Jurassic Park.
Well, that was the big kind of boom of like, oh, we can actually do good CG. So this is very
I think
like this is early days.
mm, yeah, I
And
think the
even
first
then they
ever
weren't
use of
even sure.
wasn't the first ever use of CG. I think was for I don't think you've seen this movie, but the Return to Oz movie. I don't know. I think that was the end of the 80s as well, where they used like they had this sort of stretchy, sort of demonic looking knight, and it was the very first ever. It was the same computers they used for programming early Pixar. It was like
Yeah.
their first ever test run was for doing Return to Oz, and that was the first time you've ever seen CGI on screen.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
Young Sherlock was like one of the first like CGI.
Oh, I've seen that movie. I've seen that movie a
It's
couple
the
times.
Knight. It's the Knight is like one of the first like CGI. I'm gonna
Oh,
quotations characters.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. That's both medieval knight characters they like to play with. That's interesting choice for your first sort of CGI play around. But that movie was produced by Spielberg as well, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't work for me here. There's like a shot where the predator puts his hand, is it he puts his hand over something, like, and it almost looks like whenever you watch a dog movie and you see like a fake dog paw come onto the screen, like a puppet. It was a little bit like that. Um, yeah, it straight up doesn't work. But whenever you finally get the face off at the end, you get the payoff when the predator takes his mask off and you see the mandibles independently moving. That great creature effect work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely makes it worth it.
When he's standing on a log just firing missiles and it's all lit up, it looks brilliant. And you get that little
Oh,
montage
beautiful.
prior to the fight of like Arnie getting ready, covering himself in mud and stuff, and making like bow and arrows and like that is so
Mm,
cool. I really like. I must say, I really perked up in the last 25 minutes. I was like, oh, this is exciting. Like that everything that
yeah.
ending fight because it really is. It's like he truly is the underdog in that situation. From everything you've seen, you're like, how is this guy gonna do it? And yeah, no, I enjoyed that. I did enjoy that.
No, that bit is beautiful with it's almost like fireworks going off at a Disneyland resort, isn't it? It's like you get a super super wide shot of him standing on the log, and he's like the predator is like you can barely even see him on the screen. He's like he's a little man in the distance, and you just see these lights flashing all over the screen. And it's a beautiful shot in the movie. Um,
Yeah.
in amidst a pretty horrible situation. Yeah, but it says something to the movie that you must have been along with it at some point. If it, you know, a lot of movies can do a lot of damage in about an hour and make you, no matter how good the last 30 minutes are, they can lose you anyway. So it must have done something to keep
Oh
your
yeah, I'm
attention.
not saying I hate this and it's severely overrated. I just think for me, it's a product of the time that I'm watching it with all the knowledge I
Definitely
have
is.
of Predator already, and and an expectation, I guess, to have more fun with it. And I just found myself quite bored in the middle. But that, yeah, I didn't hate it. Hate it. It's fine. It just didn't work for me like I thought it was gonna work. You can complain about effects. Like at the end of the day, like you said, it's the 80s, and they were playing around with stuff. I'm sure at the time that was quite exciting. Having watched Predators this week as well, and that's only from 2010. Like some of the effects on that are awful and really dated as well. But
Yeah.
again, it seems like they spent more money actually on the prosthetics and stuff because the Predator looks cool at the end of the day in both those films.
It's funny actually because it's such a big iconic figure, the predator in popular culture. Yeah, like when thinking about it, there hasn't really been a lot of money thrown at Predator in a movie. There hasn't been like a massive mega blockbuster movie with the Predator. You could argue Aliens versus Predators, but that's almost in the style of a B movie. So it's quite interesting I think even the new movie Prey, although I've heard really good things about it so far, really looking forward to seeing the movie. I think people have said that the special effects are not its strong suit either. From the people
Hmm.
who have seen early screenings of it, so it's a running thread, but I suppose maybe it doesn't need to be.
Do you think maybe as well? Like I definitely know Shane Black's Predator film didn't do well in the box office.
Yeah,
Uh, have any of the sequels to these done well in the box office? Is that why they're not willing to throw so much money at it, but they know they're going to grab some people with the nostalgia bait?
yeah, it has a cult following for sure, and it has the privilege of picking up a lot of Alien fans over the years too. Whenever it had its crossover, and Aliens versus Predators was a really big hit, but that was the merging of two properties, so it was bound to have some sort of appeal. But yeah, we're sort of at a weird point now where we're probably targeting this for a certain age group, and I don't know if do young people know nowadays like what Predator is. I mean, are people watching it a lot? I mean, the new Predator movie that came out 4 years ago was almost like a movie that doesn't exist. I don't know many people who've seen it.
No, no. And I have you seen it? Because I definitely haven't, as mentioned
It's
previously.
the only Predator movie I have yet to see. I've yet to catch up with it.
I must say,
So
I think they're pretty much all on Disney Plus now, or relatively easy to find. So
yeah,
like having watched Predator and then Predators, I do want to go watch two. I do want to see the Shane Black one just out of curiosity. Obviously, I'm
hmm
watching Prey because that looks really good.
yeah.
But should I
I
watch
would
Alien
recommend you
versus
watch Alien
Predator?
versus Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd recommend you watch it. Recommend you watch it because there's a lot of fun to have of it, and I think you get to see a lot of really cool predator kills in there, and you get to see a sort of different side to Predator. It's a fun movie. I've seen Aliens versus Predators a lot, especially when I was a kid. It was like whenever it came out in 2005. I was watching it like most weekends, and I don't know how I feel about it now, but I used to really enjoy that movie. So yeah, I think it's worth catching up. You'll definitely have fun with it at least.
Fair enough. I think I will. I will make my way to it. What about Alien vs Predator Requiem? Is that any good?
I remember that came out, I think 2009 or 2008, somewhere around that period. I actually, because I was a big fan of AVP, whenever that movie came out, Requiem, I was like, oh, I'm really excited to watch this. Turned it off, even though I was an avid fan. Turned it off after 20 minutes. It is
Oh,
awful, and I think it's regarded as one of the worst sci-fi movies ever made.
oh dear. So that's the worst one.
Yeah, it's just basically what if aliens and predators were fighting outside your house in your cul-de-sac? I don't think there's really
Oh,
much else going on in that movie.
is that so? Did they take the Predator 2 thing again? I haven't seen Predator 2, but obviously it's based in LA. So I saw the trailer and I was like, that looks quite interesting. That they've taken what was
Yeah.
set in a jungle is now on the streets of LA. It looks interesting, but apparently not great
Well, they
either.
were the whole Alien versus Predator thing was sort of teased from Predator 2 because there's a certain scene in Predator 2 where you get a sort of a look at the Predator's lair where he's living in this concrete jungle in the city. And in the background, there is a xenomorph head, like a trophy, in the background in one of the scenes. So they kind of
Ooh,
like used that as a tease that they were going to do some sort of crossover one day, and then 15 or so years later they did. It's sort of a fun little Easter egg.
interesting, interesting. Well, you know what? I might download Predator 2 on the Disney Plus app
We've talked
and
you into, haven't we?
yeah, I might watch it on my travels and maybe Alien v Predator will get in there. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, yeah. You're going away, aren't you, for a while? We're going to have a whole week with no episodes.
Yes, but not next week. Next week is Prey, and then we might have a quiz potentially the week after.
We will
And
definitely have a quiz. Alex is looking at me suspiciously because he knows that it's going to be a nightmare for me to edit because because there's a lot of us just like thinking and trying to come up with answers. But no, don't worry, Alex. It'll be good. I'll make sure we get
no,
an
no, no.
episode.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just I was trying to see the schedule. But yeah, then at the end of August we've got a week break. Whilst I'm away in Canada. If I go to any places where they film films, I'll report back and let you know.
I'm sure. Are you going to any big cities?
Yeah, Toronto, Montreal, if one calls that a big city. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Um,
Toronto's a big film city, so you're bound to catch
Toronto,
something good there.
yeah, Toronto's a very big film city. I think they use it as a, they use it instead of New York, but then say it's set in New York kind of thing a lot. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see some places.
So yeah, I think that's kind of all we can talk about the original Predator at the minute. Obviously, I really liked it. Alex, you admired some parts of it, not as big a fan as me, but I do have a lot of nostalgia for that movie. So yeah, it was definitely worth catching up with it before. Obviously, watching Prey tomorrow night. We both will be watching it at the same time, so we're really excited about that. Hopefully, it's as good as everybody's saying. But for now, I think that's it for the film angle.
I was just gonna say, I think as although I was a little bit down on Predator, I am still gonna seek out its worse sequels. So there's clearly something there that I'm still intrigued by.
Very good. It's like you love the character, like the beast and the creature and the sort of the design of the creature and how it's utilized. It's more the movie that you were
I
a big
think,
fan of.
yeah, I think as well as like every Predator film from the trailers that I had a quick look at looks like a completely different film. So it's almost just like interesting to see.
Because they are, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's almost interesting to see how other people kind of take the Predator and kind of bring them into different scenarios,
Yeah.
but still kind of clinging on to that hunt and that kind of like fight to the death thing that I'm sure each one of them will have. But yeah, no, I'm very intrigued. But yeah, just to say, like, although I didn't love it, still something there.
Alex, you're just always trying to cover your back. I appreciate it. Just it's okay. It's okay. We know you hate it. It's fine.
Yeah, but I can't hate it and then be like, I'm going to watch Predator 2, which everybody says is so much worse.
No. It's just yeah, I get it.
Like I'm
That
torturing
particular movie.
myself.
Yeah, some masochistic sort of thing you're doing. But no, yeah, we're really excited for Prey. We're looking forward.
Mm.
I'm really looking forward to catching up with you, Alex, next week to see if we're on the same page or if we feel really differently about the movie. Regardless, it's going to be a really interesting discussion. So please tune in to the film angle next week. But for now, that's it for us from the film angle. As always, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and anywhere that you get your podcasts from. As well, please make sure to like us and follow us on our Instagram page, where we're pretty active on. So, yes, for now, guys, this is the film angle, and I'm Chris.
And I'm Alex.
Bye bye.